What if I told you that the single biggest financial shift of our lifetimes is not just a possibility, but a meticulously planned event, and that a secret blueprint detailing its every move has just been leaked? This is not a theory, this is a direct look into a confidential document, a strategic map that has escaped from the vaults of top-level banking and government insiders, and it outlines, with terrifying clarity, the imminent revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. The gravity of this leak cannot be overstated. We are not looking at vague predictions or hopeful analyst reports anymore, we are looking at the alleged operational plan, the very playbook that connects the Central Bank of Iraq, the U.S. Treasury, and the International Monetary Fund in a synchronized financial operation set to redefine global wealth. This document, which we will refer to as the RV Map, is the missing link that proves this is a coordinated, geopolitical maneuver, not a simple economic adjustment. It shows a step-by-step rollout strategy designed to minimize market shock and prevent a global speculative frenzy, while ensuring the new currency value is established with stability and international confidence from its very first second of going live. According to the high-level sources who provided this information, the map details a phased approach, starting with back-end technical updates to the core international banking systems, specifically the SWIFT network and the Federal Reserve's own clearing mechanisms, which will be preloaded with the new exchange rate but kept dormant under a strict administrative flag until the designated launch time. This first phase, codenamed Ignition within the document, is the silent, invisible foundation upon which everything else is built, and intelligence suggests this phase may have already been initiated, with technicians and system administrators at key global financial hubs having already received their sealed, time-sensitive execution orders. The map then outlines a second phase, known internally as ECHO, where a select group of primary correspondent banks and major international currency exchanges will receive the authenticated data packets containing the final, ratified exchange rate, allowing them to prepare their own systems for the instantaneous switch, creating a network of ready and validated institutions capable of handling the historic volume of transactions that will follow. This is the critical buffer zone designed to absorb the initial institutional tsunami of activity before the general public is even aware that the change has occurred. The leaked timeline indicates that the transition from ignition to echo is a matter of days, not weeks, placing us squarely in the window of maximum financial opportunity. The strategic genius of this plan, as revealed in the map, is its understanding of global psychology. By the time the news breaks on mainstream media channels, the infrastructure will have already been tested. So, what is the actual destination point on this map? What is the specific, tangible goal that this coalition of global powers is working towards with such coordinated secrecy? The leaked document moves from the how to the what with stunning audacity, because it doesn't just outline a process, it explicitly defines the intended economic outcome for the Iraqi nation, and by extension, for every single person holding its currency. The strategic objective, as stated in the document's own summary, is to reposition the Iraqi dinar to a value that genuinely reflects the nation's staggering and largely untapped economic wealth, which extends far beyond its vast oil reserves. We are talking about a currency value that will allow Iraq to engage as a peer on the global stage, to settle its international debts in its own currency, to finance its own monumental reconstruction without crippling foreign loans, and to establish the IQD as a legitimate, asset-backed reserve currency in the Middle East and beyond. The map's internal annotations and the supporting data packets point towards a target exchange rate that is not a minor adjustment but a fundamental recalibration, a rate that would place the dinar at a level of real purchasing power parity, potentially moving from its current state to a value that is a multiple of its original, pre-sanction strength. This isn't about a simple decimal point shift, this is about restoring national sovereignty and economic dignity through monetary policy. The intelligence suggests that the rate will be set high enough to instantly wipe out the national debt when calculated in the new currency, effectively freeing Iraq from the financial shackles that have constrained it for decades and allowing every single dollar of its oil revenue to be channeled directly into infrastructure, healthcare, education, and technology, transforming the nation almost overnight from a post-conflict state into an emerging economic powerhouse. This is the real why behind the relentless push for banking reforms, the crackdown on corruption, and the strategic partnerships being forged. They are creating the necessary container to hold this new, immense value without it leaking or collapsing due to a weak financial structure. The map details how this new value will be protected by a triple-lock guarantee system involving Iraq's gold reserves, its future oil and gas production contracts which will now be denominated in the new dinar, and a direct currency swap line established with the U.S. Federal Reserve to provide immediate liquidity and stability during the initial volatile transition period. This level of backing is unprecedented for a currency in its position and signals the absolute seriousness of the participating nations. Furthermore, the document reveals that this is not an isolated event for Iraq alone, it is a critical component of a wider, quiet agreement among BRICS nations and certain G20 members to gradually dethrone the US. So now we arrive at the most critical moment, the point where all this intelligence and speculation meets your personal reality. The final phase in this leaked roadmap, the one they call global integration, is the moment the new rate goes live for the public, and this is where your preparedness is tested. This is not a drill, this is the final countdown, and your actions in the immediate hours and days following the official announcement will determine your financial outcome for generations. The map indicates that once the rate is stable on the international forex markets and the first wave of major institutional exchanges has been processed smoothly, a global media blitz will commence. This will be your signal. You will see coordinated announcements from the IMF praising Iraq's economic reforms, from the U.S. Treasury affirming its support for a stable and prosperous Iraq, and from the Central Bank of Iraq itself, finally confirming what we have known was coming. The news headlines will be unavoidable, flashing across every screen, and the world will suddenly wake up to the reality that the Iraqi dinar has been revalued at a rate that reflects the true, untapped wealth of the nation. But by then, for the informed few who acted on early intelligence like this, the window of prime opportunity will already be narrowing. The initial chaos, the rush to banks, the frantic searches for information, that will be the reality for the general public. Your advantage, right now, is the foreknowledge of this sequence of events. Your action plan must be as precise as the RV map itself. First, you must have your physical dinar certificate secured in a safe and immediately accessible location. Do not keep them in a safety deposit box that you can only access during banking hours, as the announcement could happen at any moment, and you need to be ready to move instantly. Second, you must have a pre-vetted list of exchange locations. Not every bank or currency exchange will be equipped or authorized to handle the transaction immediately. The map suggests that major international banks with dedicated forex desks and pre-existing relationships with the Federal Reserve will be the first point of contact. Third, and this is absolutely crucial, you must have your financial and legal documentation in perfect order. This includes proof of purchase for your currency, valid government-issued photo identification, and your tax information. The level of scrutiny on these transactions will be unprecedented to prevent money laundering, and any discrepancy in your paperwork could cause catastrophic delays, potentially locking you out of the initial, most favorable exchange windows. You must anticipate the questions, have your story straight, and present yourself as a legitimate international investor, not a speculator looking for a quick profit. The fourth step is to have a clear, multi-tiered strategy for the capital you will receive. This is not just about cashing out, it's